And sometimes I do feel like if, you know, sometimes I don't feel celebrated when I know maybe somebody else would be celebrated for those accomplishments, you know? I don't feel like people say when Drake is the artist of the decade, I don't think anybody says, wow, a black artist is the artist of the decade. I don't think anybody says that, really. I never heard anybody say that in the last few weeks.
Much-loved Degrassi character Jimmy Brooks, as played by Aubrey Graham, aka Drake, had quite a journey throughout his time on Degrassi: The Next Generation. From being the school basketball star, to being shot and paralyzed, to getting engaged. Jimmy was always the character fans could rely on to deliver great and memorable moments. In this video, we're going to be...
What up? It's your homeboy B. Watt, and you are now tuned in to another episode of Cancel B. Watt, you dig? And today, we're going to be talking about my homeboy Drake. Drake is going through it right now, all right? And I'm not about to flex on Drake right now, though, okay? a lot of y'all flexing on Drake right now. But I'm going to unsuccessfully, I'm going to unsuccessfully defend the homie Drake right now because I feel bad for him. Why do I feel bad for Drake? Because the black community has completely turned their backs on Drizzy Drake. And I'm sure that man notices and he has to feel a way about it right now. I mean, black people have been acting like Drake was our dog for a minute. If anybody got invited to the cookout, it has been Drizzy Drake. But nope. We can all see now that black people didn't really rock with Drake in the first place, man. It's a sad moment. And I must admit, you know, Drake has had a few critical missteps. And ultimately, it's obvious that he's culturally out of place, you know what I mean? But just like Drake has shown an ignorance about black culture, a lot of black people have shown ignorance about Drake's culture. Black people are completely ignorant when it comes to Drake. It's so interesting. You know, a lot of black people don't know about his religion. They don't understand his religion. A lot of black people don't understand his upbringing. They don't even know that he was on Degrassi. And as far as these allegations against Drizzy Drake, all right, I think that Drake has just been in Holly weird just a tad bit too long. But for the life of me, I do not understand why people are acting like Drake did not go to Degrassi High School. A lot of black people, I know, we missed the whole Degrassi High School show thing. I know. Degrassi was not popping in the hood. That must have been a Canada or a white middle-class American thing. But understand this, black people, Degrassi was huge. Just because black people didn't grow up on that doesn't mean you should underestimate what I just said. For a lot of people, Degrassi was a cultural phenomenon, a cultural classic, a cult classic, sorry. And I'm not gonna front. I've checked out a few episodes. I mean, I wanted to see what's up. Drizzy Drake is on there, you know what I mean? And I must admit, I was a little weirded out by the subject matter. But ultimately, Degrassi is a show about teenagers, sex, and all kind of other stuff. Degrassi was full of child sex alluding to scenes, gay scenes, homophobia, R-word scenes, R-A-P-E. I mean, the algorithm probably can hear that, sorry. Try to trick the algorithm, y'all. Essay scenes, all right? Episodes about little girls going from being innocent little girls to promiscuous teenagers, all right? Degrassi had episodes about yeah, all right? There was episodes about kids getting STDs, pregnancy, drug abuse, kids losing their virginity. And yes, I'm sure you're wondering, yes, Wheelchair Jimmy, a.k.a. Drizzy Drake, did do gay scenes. Not directly, but gay alluding to scenes. His character was gay or something, all right? And once, after Wheelchair Jimmy got shot, all right, he tried to figure out how he could still have sex because, you know, he was paralyzed from the waist down, okay? So Wheelchair Jimmy was the man. Don't get it twisted, black folks. Drizzy Drake, a.k.a. Wheelchair Jimmy, was the man before he was Drizzy Drake, all right? And Degrassi was a wild show, okay? There was even an episode about a character living his truth as a transgender male. So don't get it twisted. These kids and these characters on Degrassi were about between 14 and 16 years old. And yes, there was pedophilia on the show. There were some inappropriate adult-child type relationships, some older child, younger child type relationships. I'm not going to get into it. But understand that this is where Drake, as a child, during his teenage years, spent most of his time. This is the world that Drake comes up in. Drake is a former child actor. All right? I always hear a lot of people talk about Orlando Brown and how weird he is, how strange he is. All right? He came up as a child actor on Disney, Nickelodeon. Well, Drake comes up in that same world. Think about that.
Oh my gosh. Well, so Drake is a producer of the show. I did not know that.
Yes.
So how involved is he? Is he involved?
No, he's really involved. There was, we were doing table reads for season 2 a couple of months back. And of course, like, you're not expecting Drake to be at your table read.
You're
like,
expecting him to be on tour or busy.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like performing somewhere in his big old house in Canada. And I pull up to the lot, and he's there with like all of his homies. It's him and then his business partner, Future, the Prince. And they literally sat through, I think it was a 3-hour table read because we went through a couple of episodes, and he was so involved and so in tune. And you don't really expect that from a person. I know that he's like a brilliant businessman and like a creative, but I mean, he's Drake. He doesn't really have to pay attention in the table read, and
I think that's cool though.
Yeah, but he did come from acting, so it makes sense.
Yeah, he did. I didn't know that, but in Canada he did. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, Degrassi is a very similar show. Canadian show.
I know. I didn't know that. Somebody told me that, and I was like, oh, I had no idea. I only knew him because of his music, but that's cool. All right.
He's an awesome
I love that he didn't just slap his name on it, that he's involved with
Exactly.
it. That's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
When
And
somebody
maybe that's why it's so
interrupt
raw.
and go like, you're doing it wrong.
No, he's so in tuned, and I was kind of like looking at him to see if he was actually paying attention and like turning his pages, and like you could tell he was feeling all the emotion. I was like, okay, Drake.
That's so cool. And it makes you feel good too, that he's like really into your project.
A lot of people were surprised to learn that Drake was an executive producer on this show called Euphoria. Unsurprisingly, Euphoria is another show that follows a group of high school students as they navigate love and friendships in a world of drugs, sex, trauma, and social media. Does this sound familiar to you guys? Euphoria has been on for 2 seasons, 18 episodes, and so far, I have watched it just a few times. I don't watch too much TV, and I can't remember who got me to watch this shit because I know for sure that this was not my own idea. But I've seen a few episodes of Euphoria, all right? And Euphoria is mainly about this girl, and I don't know her name, Zendaya? I think she's famous, but she's playing the girl on there, all right? She's always high on drugs, struggling to get sober, going to rehab, fussing with her parents, overdosing, and shit, okay? This show is okay, but I can't really watch it too much because I don't want to put that type of, that drug stuff all up in my subconscious mind, all right? You have to be mindful of the things you are digesting into your subconscious mind because, listen, the shit you watching on Netflix will become part of your actual reality. Nonetheless, Euphoria is a hypersexual show about teenage hookup culture. Euphoria has the same type of episodes as Degrassi: abortion, relapsing, gender transition, homosexuality, human trafficking, domestic violence, mental illness. My goodness, I already know that the YouTube algorithm is having a fit with me right now, okay, because these are negative advertising words, okay? I'm sure that the advertisers do not like these words, but please excuse me. It's pretty easy to see why Drizzy Drake would be the perfect person to be the executive producer of a show like Euphoria, okay? Because it's based on his previous experience at Degrassi, all right?
So y'all gonna have me getting carried away again. I get in trouble for shit like this, and I get in trouble for shit like this, and I get in trouble for shit like this, and I get in trouble for shit like this.
Also, I'm pretty sure by now everybody has heard the allegations that have been made against Drake. Kendrick Lamar accused Drake of liking them young. I'm sure by now you have all seen the video of Drake on stage with the 17-year-old girl kissing her in the mouth even after she told him that she was 17. Trigger warning. This is my first time saying that on here. Kind of like that shit. Trigger warning, everyone. I told you that I was here to unsuccessfully defend Drake. And while I do not agree with his actions or the allegations that have been made against him, I will say that he kissed a 17-year-old girl in Colorado. And the age of consent in Colorado is, you guessed it, 17 years old. Colorado does not criminalize sex when both parties are 17 years old or older. So unfortunately for Drizzy Drake, there is no possible way for him to receive criminal charges, although he is definitely 30-something years old in this video and kissing a 17-year-old girl in the mouth. Would I do it? No, absolutely not. Do I agree with it? No, absolutely not. All I'm saying is that it is not illegal. Okay? So just so everyone knows, and all of this is kind of wild to me, but I do my work, I do my research. The age of consent in Atlanta, Georgia is only 16. This means that a person in the state of Georgia must only be 16 years old to legally consent to sexual activity. Anybody who is under the age of 16 cannot legally consent to sex with anyone. In Texas, the age of consent is 17 years old. That means a 16-year-old in Texas cannot date a 30-year-old man, but apparently a 17-year-old can date a 30-year-old person. Now, in California, the age of consent is 18 years old. This seems a little bit more appropriate to me, but in New York, it's 17 years old again. So what does all of this mean? It means that although Drake's actions are weird as fuck, okay, they were in fact not illegal. So while I do think that these allegations are damaging to his brand and definitely damaging to his personal reputation, okay, I do not think that Drake will be going to jail for dating or dealing with these young ass girls who he is alleged to have been dealing with. And for anybody who is thinking of following in Drake's footsteps, just think about the fact that little boys and little girls do not wipe good yet, okay? So mind your business. You grown.
The best to ever do it, yet you still have this chip on your shoulder. I remember listening to Diplomatic Immunity. You know, you have the line where you say you're black excellence, but it was come to you, it's not the same though. Like, why do you think that still, like, I guess, that dark cloud is over you, over your head?
Well, I think I've been in a lot of rooms and in a lot of conversations and just I've felt the other side of judgment and, you know, racial judgment sometimes, like being light-skinned, you know, being Canadian, having people that I look up to and respect tell me that I can't identify with what's going on because, you know, and granted, I'm also not the most outspoken person when it comes to political issues. I prefer to talk about it amongst my people, and if we're gonna do something, I prefer to go and make the change or actually actually do something and not just like post about it so that people are like, oh wow, this guy's really conscious about what's going on. Like, you know, the work we put in the communities, you know, the way we give back is legit. It's on the ground. You know, it's not so you guys can all just like, you know, double tap and say, wow, oh my God, Drake's so like.
You said if you hold your tongue, you'll get crucified.
So as always, I'm interested to know what you all think, okay? All right? Do you think that black people have now uninvited Drizzy Drake to the cookout? Okay? Are you letting Drake come to your family event this summer? Do you think that Drake has a connection with young girls because he was a child actor and he can relate to them, okay, in some immature, macho, feminine way? I don't know. Do you think that I am wrong? And despite the age of consent in most of America being concerningly low, that Drake will most likely still go to the Bing for what many are describing as luring young women into his own personal Tinder and grooming them, okay? Do you also find it very difficult to vibe out to They Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar, because although the beat is jamming, shout out to DJ Mustard, I can just not catch a vibe to Kendrick Lamar making these hilarious but wild and serious allegations against Drizzy Drake, okay? I can't sit my grandma on yay to that, all right? So tap in with me. If you enjoyed this video, please do not hesitate to visit www.cancelby.com. All right, sign up with me there for more exclusive content. And as always, listen, like, subscribe, and tune in again to another episode of Cancel BY.